I've never understood what work-life balance means. Work is a separate entity, life is a separate entity. Companies have no genuine intent or interest to keep you healthy.
I personally do know of HRs who take money for bringing an insurance company back in again.
You might disappoint HR audience of your podcast, right? Because
Sure.
I don't. The entire paradigm of corporate wellness is a very confused and abused term. I had spent 50% of my income on medicals.
I was going through a phase of high stress and anxiety, and ice baths did make a lot of difference.
Wow. Someone is saying that you should take cold baths, so every person in India is jumping into a cold bath. So it's cool to wear a wearable. Builders, marketers, they try to confuse consumers by selling the feature.
That's not entirely true though, right? Should Indian healthcare founders even build for India at this stage?
It's not an easy market. And you gave an example of US. The fabric of a culture is so different there. There is a lot more awareness about staying healthy, which is not there in India.
How has your relationship evolved with Nitin over time?
For the world, he may be a billionaire or whatnot, but
Today we are meeting Dilip. He's the man behind Rainmatter's investments in healthcare. But more interestingly, he's a 40-year-old endurance athlete with a very, very interesting journey. I personally had a lot of takeaways from this conversation, and I'm pretty sure that irrespective of who you are or what you do, you'll find this conversation extremely insightful. Amazing. Thank you so much for taking time out for this conversation, Dilip. It's a pleasure having you here.
thank you, Dhawal. Excited, looking forward to the conversation.
We'll dive right into it. You speak very loudly about health, and one thing that somebody who is meeting you can't seem to miss to notice, is you very fit. Can you walk us through your day or your lifestyle or your schedule, and tell us more about what all things do you incorporate in your life from just a health perspective?
Yeah, thank you for the kind words. I don't know whether I am fit. The word fitness itself is uh, continuously, changing goalpost for me. Fitness would mean so many things for so many people. Right now, if you ask me, for me, mental fitness is the most important part. And I'm not saying because you work in mental fitness, I'm there on the podcast. But this is something which I, till this moment, struggle a lot.
Okay.
So I tried, my goal as of today is to stay mentally and physically healthy.
Okay.
Fitness is also a very confused and abused word in the era we live today, partly because of misinformation, also because people have a lot of vested interest to also tell you what it means from their lens.
Mhm.
For me, beyond the metrics of how you look from a physical fitness point of view, uh, being mindful, being in the moment, uh, your ability to do what you want makes me say that I can be healthy mentally or physically. So my day is not fixed ever because I have a 3-year-old at home. It all depends on how he wakes up.
Okay.
If he wakes up in a good mood, things go as per plan. Else, it's all over. But I try to get some form of physical activity done every day.
In the morning itself?
In the morning itself. It's kind of non-negotiable for me.
Okay.
If I don't get it in the morning, I still try to get it done in the evening. Um, Physical movement could mean running, which is my primary tool of exercise, or hitting the gym. That's non-negotiable, like I said. Second would be eating the right food, which I feel I should be eating. So, finding a balanced meal. That's pretty much a daily routine, Monday to Sunday. The days I feel I didn't wake up right, I feel off, I just take a rest day. Yeah, and that's been the template for the past maybe 6-7 years now.
Okay. You touched upon this point of healthy versus fit. What is it? What is healthy and what is fit?
Honestly, that's a definition which I'm still trying to find out.
Okay.
My understanding so far has been very confusing because that's something which we are not taught. Not in our high school, not in our college, sometimes not even in our family. Things may change a lot now, I hope. but I'm a 80s kid. So back in the days, that was not the fabric of language at home, right? Simple things like why you should eat what vegetable was never told. It was just said that you should just eat vegetables. Uh, why you should and hitting a gym was a luxury. It was also a signal of masculinity that you hit a gym, that means you are a gym bro, right? So the fundamental uh, the anchor to what healthy or what fit means was never part of the vocabulary. And as I started growing up, and especially in my mid 30s, that's where as they say life happens. uh, I was confused, and I also started to realize that there is a stark difference between both these words, right? Like I said in the beginning, it's 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 defined by what the world we live in today, part of social media, mainstream media, and people around us, and also what is internal for us. Uh, Fitness for the large part because it's glamorized. It's sometimes an offshoot of an entertainment industry. It's aspirational, it's inspirational. So there is always something to look forward how someone perceives fitness to be, right? Someone is looking good, or someone is having a great physical body, right? No one ever have seen, I have crossed path who has said that I want to be a healthy person like him or her. They always say that want to be a fit person like him or her, right? So the the definition and the quotient of being healthy is not tangible. It's not defined,
Okay.
right? So
But doesn't being healthy lead to being fit?
it does.
I mean, isn't being fit a byproduct of being healthy?
Depending on the lens you look at it, it for sure, yes, right?
Okay.
It is a subset, I would say, right? You have to be healthy first, and then you become fit. But but is it a choice? I don't know that yet. Like whether someone should be fit or someone should be healthy, I don't know that. So it's still an evolving, uh, you know, vocabulary for me, and I'm still trying to figure it out what it means.
Yeah. You mentioned life happened in mid 30s. What happens in mid 30s? I'm just very curious about this.
Uh, yeah, I'm guessing you're curious because you probably might be getting into mid 30s
Not
now.
even close, but
Okay,
yes.
so no, look, uh, I mean, a lot happens as you start growing because 30s is a phase of life where uh, your professional life, your personal life intersects, and you have your own design of what you want to live, but how it turns out and how it happens is not in your control, right? So you want to everyone is ambitious, everyone is career oriented, so you want to chase, or everyone want a better love life, however everyone want a better personal life, so they would chase. So they don't intersect at a point where they blend. And this word called work life balance, I've never understood what work life balance means, right? Work is a separate entity, life is a separate entity. You just can't balance it. That's my understanding so far. And that's exactly what hit me up, right? I mean, I was so all my life I've been a entrepreneur trying to build companies, startups. So I was constantly always chasing this hedonic treadmill of building companies and chasing a certain metric, which I was told uh, something what everyone should do, right? And I had to ignore a lot of other aspects of life, which possibly could have a better meaning to life, which was staying healthy mentally, physically, being there around for family. So that's exactly what happened. You know, I can go in details, but I kind of lost the hang of my health. And then I had to cross path with a eureka moment where I realized that, that doesn't cut out, and I should probably go back and find that lost identity. So
Yes. What was this eureka moment that led you from being a overweight person to a 40-year-old endurance athlete, as per the tweet?
yeah, by the way, that tweet which I sent it out, I have to admit that that was more of an ego boost to myself, because I was a point of life where I didn't had an identity to myself. I didn't know whether I was a failed entrepreneur or I was a wannabe athlete, who I was. So that endurance athlete was more of an identity which I gave to myself to kind of hang in there, so that I know there is something I have to look forward to. Uh, yeah, so, you know, like I said, I was building companies and I was overweight. There was a point in time, the Eureka moment in particular, since you asked, there was a point where, in companies at the end of the year, you have to give your medical bills for reimbursement, end of the fiscal year. I think it's some 15,000-20,000 rupees. My accountant had asked me that, submit the medical bills. I went back home and I started collecting my bills, and I realized that the combined amount of those medical bills was close to 50% of my annual income that year. And mind you, entrepreneurs don't pay themselves much. So it's
Yeah.
not that I was earning a lot, but whatever I was earning, I had spent 50% of my income on medicals.
When you say medical bills, it's
These are just OPD consultations, right? There's
just
no
OPD, no IPD.
no IPD, no surgeries, no
So you're probably
diagnostics.
going to the doctor every weekend or every
I
2
had
weeks.
exposed my entire body from top to down for any and every type of ailment, right? And that was the eureka moment for me. Like, what am I doing, right? Because people want 15,000, I probably had 10 times more than that value of medical bills. So that moment kind of totally made me pause and to understand there's no point in getting into the treadmill and chasing things, because as entrepreneurs we are always told and we are engineered that you have to build something. So you're
Yeah.
constantly building, but as you're building, you're not conscious about your foundation, whether the foundation is strong and whether that foundation is eroding. So that moment really made me think, and two things instantly happened. Right, I mean, right at that moment, I was supposed to go abroad for work reasons, and I was just getting one fine day. I was just getting down my staircase, and I twisted my ankle.
Okay.
I went to a doctor, and he said it's all cool. You can fly. You can go. I went to I went to Germany, which is at that point of time extremely cold. It was late December, and I came back. And the moment I stepped in Bangalore, my legs swell. So the ligament tear had become acute and chronic. I went back to the doctor. The doctor said that you have to get through a surgery. I said, it's too early in my age. I was probably early 30s, to get through a surgery because I have to get through some implants and all of that. I said, what is the other organic way of getting out of this? He said that it will be a long time, but you'll have to do a rehab.
Okay.
So I started going through a rehab process.
What is the rehab like?
Rehab would be to go to a physiotherapist, get all those TFT treatments done, get guided rehabilitation on the movements, and then get back to movement as a medicine.
Okay.
The physiotherapist there said that you should go out and jog. At that point of time, even if I see a stone on the road, the fear of toppling up would really freak me out. But I mustered the courage. I said, okay, I'll go out and I'll jog. At that point of time where I used to live, there was a kind of a small park. It was a 400-meter loop. I went there. I came back and I told my wife, I saw human beings who were jogging and running non-stop for 5 minutes. How is that even possible? It's inhuman. She said, maybe that's a thing. Maybe you should go back tomorrow and, see if you can do that. So I went back tomorrow. Definitely I was not non-stop. I had to stop multiple times. But that kind of built a cadence in my life. I started enjoying that because early morning you go out, you are running, empty street, no traffic. I mean, reasonably no traffic even those days. And it's very liberating, especially if you're a founder, because you unplug yourself. You don't carry anything. There were no podcasts at that time, so there's nothing for you to listen through, and you're just jogging, running with your own conscious thoughts. That was very liberating for me, and first time in my life I realized I got a tool to be consistent in movement. So that eureka moment led me to find running as a sport, and I kind of stuck to it, and here I am calling myself an endurance athlete.
Yeah. Amazing. How long can you run for now in one go?
Uh, I do frequently 42 kilometers marathon. So that's the longest I can do
And how
non-stop.
long does it take?
Well, this is a point where I should, maybe some people can boast of. So for me, I can tell you only about my time. So I run around 2 hour 55 minutes for a
Amazing.
full marathon.
Amazing. Okay. You touched upon a lot of great points actually. What are the other benefits of movement as a medicine that you've seen?
Well, there's so much of science around that. There's so much of literature out there which is being researched and published about the benefits, right? To me personally, of course, there is a tangible physical benefit, but what I feel which is underrated, but also published, is the mental benefit of it, right? Because as you move, there is so much of explosion of those internal chemicals inside your body. The all kind of endorphins are getting built up, right? uh, you feel liberated in so many different ways, right? Either you can seed thoughts or you can flush thoughts. You can flush the unwanted thoughts what you have in your body, in your system, and you can also incubate new ideas, new thoughts. When I say new ideas, I don't want to anchor it like a startup concept,
Yeah.
but generally new ideas in life.
Just new ways of looking at different things.
Yes, and
Yeah.
you just incubate it, right? And you are there just with your conscious mind. You're and somewhere in your conscious mind you're trying to pocket it, right? And the next day morning when you go back, you can pick up it again, right? And you can build upon that. And that's why they say that some of the great ideas come either when you're in shower or when you're running, right? So it's just a way of building a muscle which is not tangible,
Okay.
but it can give you much more, kind of longitudinal benefits if you keep on it.
Okay. You spoke about preventive healthcare. Indians spend on preventive healthcare versus an average American spent on preventive healthcare. The it's so different. So Indians on an average spend about 600 rupees. Americans on an average spend about 30,000 rupees. Should Indian healthcare founders even build for India at this stage?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And this question is not coming from the fact that one should not build in India. I'm just saying logically, as a founder, you're bound to go after growth. Is India a good market to build for preventive healthcare at this stage?
Yeah, I may be discouraging people by saying, I wish I had an absolute straight answer to it. But look, it's not an easy market. Again, you gave an example of US. Like, US is not from a point of view of it being a developed nation, but the fabric of a culture is so different there, right? There is a lot more awareness about staying healthy, right? Which is not there in India. And if you look at the data in particular, right, we are probably today the diabetic capital of the
Correct.
world. Obesity rates are second largest in the world.
Correct.
Right? Mental health issue. I think the last number I saw, 75 million mental health issues clinically diagnosed. Right? And then of course kids. By 2030, we are poised to be the largest country where kids are obese. So these are scary numbers.
Yeah.
Right? Now, how did we reach there? Right? Because a large part of the country, health is not a priority. For other part of that pyramid, it is a priority, but they're not doing anything, right? And if you look at it, a lot of people try to say that we are trying to solve for accessibility, we're trying for affordability. I don't think that's a challenge, right? Uh, you will go and pay 800 rupees consultation for a doctor, or 1000 to 500, 2000, whatever it may be. Gyms are accessible, right? You have gyms starting from 500 bucks to even 10,000 a month, right? You can still make a choice of eating healthy even at 50 rupees or 100 rupees, right? It's about that understanding what they need, right? And if you look at the health index in particular, people who have more resources, have more means, they are more unhealthy than
Correct.
people who have no means. So there was a data which did a comparison that rural India, to an extent, from a preventive point of view, is slightly better off than the people who are in the metros, right? So people who are listening to the podcast in no mean are, I would say, below poverty line. Right? They are probably definitely above the middle class.
Correct.
Right? They have all the means to buy a healthy alternative or get out get a run or a gym or whatnot, right? But they're not doing it largely because there's no pressing need for them to do that. Now, whether people should build for it, um, as a enthusiast, as a cheerleader, I would definitely urge people to build for it, but with the caveat that it is not a 3 year, 5 year journey, right? And if you think again, first principles, hospitals were run by entrepreneurs, right? The guy who built the hospital either was a medical practitioner, a doctor, or someone who roped in a bunch of doctors and created a hospital. So, first generation entrepreneurship has existed in the healthcare industry for long. And none of those entrepreneurs set up their businesses saying that I will have a multiple of my revenue in 3 to 5 years, I will have an exit. It was all from a point of view that people will come for treatment, I will try to solve for it. The same, I think the ideology should exist and apply in preventive. It is not going to be easy. US has seen a lot of such cycles, both at food, physical movement, in every spectrum. India is going through it. So if you're a builder, building, you should definitely build, depending on how much of endurance you have to last. If you try to build for outcomes, you will see success faster.
Okay.
If you try to build in helping people, make it more relatable in the health side, the outcome will be faster. But if it is just a vanity, it will eventually end up being just a want and not a need. So you really want to build for a need and not for a want.
Correct. As an investor, what is one trend that you're not liking in healthcare?
Um One trend is, I think, villainizing, villainizing a lot of aspects of health and trying to make it favorable to your solution. Right?
Can you
So,
give a couple of examples?
so someone who's trying to sell protein will villainize carb.
Okay.
Someone who's trying to sell carb will villainize fat. Someone who's trying to, sell variables will villainize that, data is very important and you don't know how to track it. So I think that is happening a lot now, and that is also aiding on the confusion part. What if that's intentionally? I think they're getting what they want. So because people are confused.
Is the average Indian confused about what they want from health, or what health product will get them to the desired outcome?
I can't talk about the average Indian, but definitely the average of people around me are confused, because I still field very basic questions for me now, which I often feel at this era it should not be basic. So I still think that they are confused.
As an example?
Like very basics, like uh, should they be eating this or should they not be eating a certain type? What kind of an activity should they be doing? Should they drink green tea before sleep, or should they drink honey after they wake up?
Yeah.
There's so much of misinformation. There's so much of confusion, and like I said, I mean, there are tools, there are resources, but because we don't have the temperament, we don't have the ability to go out, read, decipher. We want instant answers to everything, right? So we want a reel-based answer. We want a chat GPT based summary. We don't have the temperament to kind of go through in depth to understand. And often at times, the research or the material what we are reading may not be even specific to who we are. Because if you look at from a science point of view, almost all the research which has been done are done on white male, not even women, and they have no genetic or metabolic similarities with who we are as Indians.
Correct.
So we are confused. Someone is saying that you should take cold bath, so every person in India is jumping into a cold bath, and they don't know whether that will be good for them.
Do you do all of these crazy things?
I do, honestly, just as an experiment, because I'm curious, and I have eventually figured out my heuristics and my toolkit. So when I see it's not working for me, I don't continue.
Did ice baths work for you?
No.
Because you mentioned stress and anxiety. I was going through a phase of high stress and anxiety, and ice baths did make a lot of difference. Although it was difficult to continue it after a point of time, but that's just me in general not being able to go to the gym, which is also what I want to come up on. As a 26-year-old founder, top three things that I can do right now to keep my health in shape.
First of all, it's going to be very hard for you because you're a founder, right? And that's a harsh reality, no matter how much you try. And it's also ironical because you are in the health space, right? It's very hard. And I tell founders who are actively building companies that the only goal what you could do is, if possible, get some movement, um, get that 6 to 7 hours of sleep, because you're all the move, you're traveling, expecting you to be very specific on your calories and be very particular about your macros. It's going to be very hard.
So I've tried all of that,
Yeah.
and it's not hard immediately, but there are days when, or there are in fact weeks now, when it's just continuous 16 hours, 15 hours of work. It's impossible to track your food or track your calories during those phases, and these are the phases that break the flow of all the discipline that you would have probably developed over the last maybe 2-3 weeks.
No, clearly, I mean, I think beyond that, see, I think tracking is again a muscle what someone has to build, like everything what they do. So, as a founder, if you're tracking your metrics about growth and retention and whatnot at the product level, you have to consider your body as a product, and you have to understand metrics of measuring whether you are in the path of growth or not, right? So, for my formula so far of growth has been, stress plus rest is equal to growth.
Okay.
Right now you can replace, so you can say happiness and rest, you can say stress plus happiness, but it cannot be that you are in an ideal state where there's no stress. It's very hard,
Correct.
right? I mean, I don't know the definition of what a successful entrepreneur is today, but whoever it is, or a so-called not successful entrepreneur, their second sleeping partner is stress, right? You can't ignore that. So, and it's very natural because that's how the design of that particular life is, right? Because you know it, you've been exposed to things which are unknown. And even for me today, like no matter how much particular I am, like there are days I'm stressful, and quite naturally I would go out and put my hand into a junk food because it's just the stress hormones which are making me do it, not my conscious mind. It's craving me to eat some junk, and there are days when I'm victim to it, so I have to let loose it. But if I continuously do it, that will harm me. So one day is okay, I can pull back, but for founders it's very hard, I understand. So like I said, basic I would say is get sleep,
Sleep
because
is
it's
one.
it's the most legal performance drug you can ever have, right? Movement, some form of movement, right? So not that everyone has to wake up and do a gym, they have to go to yoga. If sport is a great tool, right? Because it's fun, and all the founders I know, they end up becoming competitive because they are competitive
Yeah,
by
correct.
design, right? So sport can be a proxy to movement, right? You can pick any sport of your choice and you just get that half an hour to 45 minutes of that every day, right? And then if possible, try to do something which is for yourself, which is that your own time, which could be equivalent to meditation, because meditation is also a muscle which someone has to build. It may come to some people naturally, for a lot of people it doesn't come naturally.
Okay.
So for some people it could be reading book, for some people it could be spending time with their family, for some people it could be doing what you love, could be painting, writing, reading book, whatnot.
Got it.
So if you do anything intrinsic for yourself and just combine those three basic things, I think it will serve good to yourself.
Okay. So sleep, movement, and self-indulgence. Okay. Sleep.
Self-indulgence could also mean getting your ice creams and pastry if that makes you happy, but not every day.
Yeah. So sleep for me is pretty sorted now. Movement and indulgence isn't. I need to work on it. And when you said 30 to 45 minutes every day, I went like, what? You meant every day? I thought you will probably say on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, look, if you go by WHO says, I think I don't remember I think it was 4 to 6 hours a week. So if you break it down,
It's
it will
an
average
hour a
becomes
day.
an hour a day. So, and it's doable. Right? I mean, just like blocking your calendar, you just have to make it non-negotiable. Like if your stand-up meetings can be non-negotiable, if your board meetings are not negotiable, non-negotiable, this could as well be. You just have to plot it on your calendar. And I know so many founders now who have started practicing that, as a skill, that they block the calendar and no one can come and book anything beyond that. So it's just about building those protocols.
You also mentioned in the conversation that you were going through a phase of high stress and anxiety, and that's pretty much your number one worry right now in terms of health. Why do you think that's happening?
Well, that's happening because I'm exposed to so much of outside world today, right?
But for the outside world, you have everything, right? You work with some of the finest entrepreneurs, you head a fund, you've been an entrepreneur, and you're fit.
Yeah, that's the irony, right? I mean, that's what I said in the beginning, right? I mean, what you see as a fitness is not what it means to be fit, right? What it means is to be healthy, right? And I'm exposed to a lot of stress by just the virtue that I'm supposed to talk to a lot of people. And what saddens me the most is I'm also supposed to say a lot of no to a lot of people, and which is rejection to a lot of people, which brings a lot of sadness and depression to a lot of people. So I'm seeding that in some way. I might make one person happy by saying yes, but I might make 99 people unhappy by saying no. And that kind of circles back to me, right? I'm saying no to someone, and then I have to field somewhat their emotions. And for me, my weak muscle is that I've been an entrepreneur. So, like I said, I'm not being engineered to be an investor. So I don't think like a typical investor or a VC person would be. I don't know how they would think, but when I was an entrepreneur, it was very easy for someone to write an email to me saying that, hey, look, we can't invest. And that's it, and that it's left on me. But when I do that, I just can't do that, right? So I have to find a way to be useful to someone, and I want to find a way to be helpful to someone, because it's just so easy to say no. And it's just so hard to be helpful and useful to someone.
Right.
So I am constantly finding those ways. And I know that's something which may be not required to do the job. Not that Nitin, my boss, asked me to do that, but it's just self-built tooling which I have done, that I have to be useful to someone. Because like I said, this is not a job which I had aspired to be. It was pure serendipity, right? So for me to continue enjoying what I do, I have to go to the bed saying that it was a well satisfied day. So if I go back with a lot of regrets and continue to be anxious, it will not make me excited enough to go back tomorrow and do what I do, right? So, and to do all of these things, I have to go through stress, because founders reach out to me, hey, this is a great nutritional product I built, this is a great app which I built. I have to download the product. Often at times I have to use it on myself, consume the product, and then give them useful feedback. So yeah, I mean, all of that takes, and
Correct.
everyone wants your attention.
Yeah.
But you only have this much of limited attention, and then you also have a life. So you have to go back and spend time outside of that as well, right? So when I was a builder, I always thought I used to villainize investors, like they're so cruel. How can they say no, right? And
Not getting my point.
yeah, and I'm truly making an impact and
Yeah.
changing a life.
Yeah.
And now when I'm at the other side, I'm realizing how hard it is, because everyone is trying to solve for something, but you only have this much of time. More importantly, you have this much of cognitive bandwidth, and you have to process everything within that bandwidth, and becomes so hard. So that I'm, like I said, I'm still working on how to do. I don't know how, but I have to figure this out.
Correct. Do you have any activities, etc., that you do right now just to take care of the anxiety or stress that you go through every day? I mean, there's a lot of physical health movement, etc., that you've spoken about already, but anything just for mental health?
I try to spend more time with not more, I want to spend more time with my 3-year-old, my son. I'm not doing it enough. But when I'm spending time with him, I feel relaxed, because he's not judging me of who I am, no matter what my LinkedIn identity is or my Twitter identity is. And just to immerse with him in his world. So that relaxes me. But my confession is that I'm not doing it as much as I should. But yeah, that's something which is relaxing me.
Okay. You also spoke about saying no's. I'm not trying to see gossip here. Is there a no that made you really, really sad?
Nothing particular. I would say, but there were many. The only no I am thankful I didn't get is from my wife, who then I was dating, and she said yes. So that was I was thankful to it. But beyond that, I think. Look, I said, I mean, I haven't had that much of struggle as what people paint. I mean, okay, I mean, I s- my first investor said yes, so I got money easily. My second investor also said yes, so I got money. The other 10 people said no. By then I realized I don't need more money,
Correct.
right? And I started building, right? So I had rejections, but it was okay. So hard to pinpoint a particular no which has left a scar.
And from the other side, I mean, when you give out no's to entrepreneurs,
Well, a no is a no. Weighing it is very hard. It really depends on the person who is taking it. But there are times where you really have to uh, spend more time with the founder and tell them the reasoning and try to be of help. So that's what I said. I mean, for me, uh, genuinely trying to be useful to someone is more important than writing a check. Uh, so I think not particularly. I don't know if someone, maybe some, you should ask someone else who might have written somewhere that they got a no. But I genuinely want to be helpful to people.
okay. You also wrote about employee wellness. You mentioned that 32,000 people have mentioned that they're on a career break, and 53,000 have called themselves they were on a sabbatical. And in your words, companies are over engineering it. What do you think they're doing wrong?
Um, I think if you look around, I mean, these numbers are, by the way, it was just my curiosity, right? Because I was getting these LinkedIn invites, and often I would see the common thing because I will go down the profile and see which company who is working. Uh, 6 to 7 out of 10 people would have a sabbatical as part of their career graph. And then they would write, they're taking a break for health, they are taking a break for their wellness. So it just constantly it made me curious. So I just went and searched with that keyword, and that's how the number came. Um, I think, look, I can't say what the companies are getting it wrong, but if you look around, the companies have no genuine intent or interest. And I might, uh, I might really tip off people here by saying that, I mean, when you come for work, their interest is not to keep you healthy, right? The intent there is to get the work done, right? And then you have some human resource personnel there who's been tasked that, okay, you should run wellness programs. And she or he also doesn't have that right intent to do that. Just because it's part of their KPI or KRA, they're forwarding an email, they're getting team lunch together and all that, right? Or some uh, health startup will send them a email saying that we are a corporate wellness company, and they will just forward that email or app. It's very hard to build a environment of staying healthy at workplace today, largely because if you see the last 10 to 15 years in particular, the hustle culture is kind of overrated, right? Everyone wants to hustle because everyone wants to move fast, because they want to break fast, they want to grow fast, and that can never be done if you have a slow cadence, right? So you're losing, right? And I see even now, my teammates will hate me saying that. Even uh, uh, I see they are on the emails all the time, right? The gap between getting an email and responding is probably just few seconds, right? And I keep telling them, look, you won't realize it now. You will probably realize when you hit your mid 30s, late 30s, because everyone has a certain energy conserve, right? You will deplete it. And when you need the most, it's not that you can refill it. That's all you had, and you lost it, right? So that culture is encouraged because, like I said, the culture of the company is to grow fast, break things and achieve certain numbers, and they're competing. And for that obvious reason, people are not putting priority to what it should be to staying healthy. So you can't really blame the company or the HR in particular, because they also don't know what to do, and in a company environment is very hard. I haven't seen or I haven't met a single person who have ever said that it's such a great place to work because they take care of me. And it's oftentimes very funny and weird for me because I see companies boasting of their accolades to saying that they've been a great workplace for whatnot, right? So I don't know what those interpretations mean, but generally I think the entire paradigm of corporate wellness is a very confused and abused term, because companies have budgets, they have to spend the budgets, they have to get involved in some activities, and they're just doing it. If they truly mean what the employee illness, you won't be seeing a lot of people taking sabbaticals and breaks. So if more people are doing sabbaticals and break, that means something is wrong happening at the workplace.
Correct.
So, I mean, one single metric what a company should see is that how many of their employees have taken a break and sabbatical, and for what reason.
Interestingly, in mental health, the number one way to make money for companies right now is to partner with corporates because they have a budget that they have to spend, like you rightly said. Why do you think is that the wrong channel to go after, or is it just being done? And if it's being done, what would the right solution look like?
Honestly, I don't know what the right solution is because else I would have been building it. Right? The pattern, what I'm seeing is because, like you said, it's easy to piggy bank because there's a budget. So, just like any enterprise sales, there's a budget which is allocated. So, it's just about giving a reason to get that pie to you. Um, whether it's the right GTM or not, I'm not sure, because if the employee who outside of being an employee is a human being, and if she or he is genuinely aware and mindful about their health, they might already be taking some solution outside of it, right? They will not wait for the company to give them a subsidized, discounted solution. If I feel I have a stress or anxiety, I should be fixing it.
Okay. I have last three questions for you. Do you read books right now? This is not one of the questions, by the way.
I do, yeah.
Okay. Any book that you would want to recommend to anybody who is watching this podcast?
I mean, I read books. I can't claim that I'm a voracious reader, but I try to. But I think the book which I would want to recommend is the one which I often keep reading back, and that's the Almanac of Naval Ravikant.
Okay.
I think it might be new or surprise to your audience, but it's not really a book as Nawal says, but it's so easy to digest and it's so easy to relate. And I probably go back to that book maybe every 2-3 weeks, not entirely, but I'll just pick up and just start flipping the pages. So that's one book I would say, because it has everything. It has philosophy.
It's worldly wisdom.
Yeah. So I mean, it has guidance, it has wisdom, it's got very tactical recommendations. So yeah, easy to digest.
What is the last book that you read or you're reading right now?
Right now I'm reading a book by Richard Feynman, about Feynman, about basic principles of physics. Again, I got through recommendation of from Nawal Ravikant's recommendation. The one which I finished reading was a book called We Share the Sun. It's a book on a gentleman called Patrick Sang. He's the coach to a few of the world's most renowned endurance athletes. So it's all about him and his mental models on how he trains.
So you're balancing books between being an athlete, being a philosopher, and being in business.
I mean, to impress, I can say yes, but honestly, it's just curiosity. I'm often very curious about knowing things about people for what they are not known for. So it's easy to learn business principles and tactics from an entrepreneur or a successful person, but understanding their mental models and philosophy is hard, which is unknown, right? So that's genuinely my curiosity. In this case, again, I didn't start reading this book about Patrick Sang because he's giving tactical endurance coaching principles. But generally, because endurance training is very close to life, pain and suffering for a long time, and then trying to attempt for a certain outcome, patience, determination. You can throw in all the savvy words. So it's a lot about mental training than physical training. So that really got me curious that how is he able to produce and create so many world record holders and world champions. So yeah.
Okay. Last part of the conversation, we are introducing this new segment where the last guest will leave a question for the next guest, not knowing who that guest is. So the question that was left for you is, why do you do what you do? And what would you have done if not this?
Wow. Can I ask who dropped that question?
Rohit from Priya Capital dropped that question.
Okay, Rohit, a tough one.
He gave me a tongue twister. I mean, I've not read out the entire question. It's just a lot of W's in there.
Yeah, clearly it is. So what do I do? What I do, and what would I do if I'm not doing what I do? Wow.
Why do you do what you do? And what would you have done if you weren't doing what you're doing right now?
Okay. I don't honestly have a very perfect answer to why I do. One reason was because, like I said, Nitin is the reason. He was very kind for me when I was a founder. He had all the reason not to invest in me, but he invested. And being a middle class person, I mean, growing up as a middle class Indian, there's always that you owe someone because they, especially when someone gives you money. I mean, obviously it's equity, right? It's not like you want to return, but the fact that he took a bet on me, and obviously, there was no financial outcome which I could return as a founder to him. I always felt I owe him something. But that was not entirely reason. Also, the extended why, that was one part of the why. The extended why is also because he again gave me an opportunity to build something, build an unknown. And there was a why, high to kind of a unknown high there. I continue to be on the ring side. I continue to meet entrepreneurs, and most importantly, all my life, I attempted to build a business, made a lot of mistakes. Uh, Now I continue to learn from others while they make mistakes, and I get to cheer for them from on the ring side. So I think that's a good position to be in. So that's my why I'm doing this. What I would have not been done might sound cliche, but honestly, I don't know. Uh, I still have a lot of unknowns in my life. So, like I said, I don't know what I want to do in my life. Um, but because I know a few things which I don't want to, so it's just a round of elimination to me. So yeah, I don't know what I would have been. Yeah,
Doing if not this.
Yeah.
How has your relationship evolved with Nitin over time?
Uh, it's very hard to define. Uh, it's a mix of everything. Sometimes we exchange notes as enthusiasts of a particular subject or a topic. It could be health. It could be intersection of multiple variables in a particular topic. Sometimes we are colleagues trying to educate each other. Uh, yeah, and oftentimes we are cheerleaders, right? Genuinely trying to cheer for each other with no intent, right? And it goes with no promises to each other. It just comes. Like, I mean, just before we got into the podcast, he just made a tweet and he tagged me, right? And there's no reason for him to do that, right? So, and that all that happens when you genuinely want someone to win in life, right? And with no strings attached.
Correct.
And Nitin Kamath, for people who may know, pretty much has got most of his things in his wish list ticked.
Correct.
Right? He will not agree to it,
Yeah,
but
yeah, of course.
for a lot of people, from a vanity point of view, he's got, right? So, and he has no reasons to, how do I say that? To keep uh, showing reasons to be helpful to people. Like, he doesn't have to show to the world.
Correct.
right? So just to be around a person who is very genuine, uh, very kind-hearted, and who genuinely want people around him to win in life. It's a
Rare find, yes.
rare skill, right? So
100%.
that's my why to the question as also, right? I mean, I get to hang out with a person who is like genuinely a nice person,
Yeah.
right? So for I mean, I don't want to sound this like a PR plug for Nitin Kamath, but for the world, he may be a billionaire or whatnot, but he's genuinely a very nice guy. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how long I can be, but till the time I can. I just want to hang around and do some good work. So, yeah, it's a evolving relationship,
Yeah.
but that is where it is.
Okay. Before we leave today, what's the question you want to leave for the next guest?
Wow.
And don't give me a tongue twister again.
um, okay, so this is something which I usually ask for people. When I do podcast with a guest, I hope you don't mind I throw in the same thing.
No, of
Uh,
course.
so if you had an opportunity to uh, come in a mainstream peak ad, 10 seconds, which is being streamed live during any important event, could be World Cup, could be whatever, but the most part of the world is watching, and you have 10 seconds. What is that you are going to speak or tell in those 10 seconds?
Amazing. Okay. Wonderful. As always, it was wonderful speaking with you. I have a lot of takeaways from this conversation, and I genuinely think anybody who watches this podcast till the end would love it. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Dhawal. Pleasure. I didn't realize it was a podcast. Felt like very known two people are talking to each other. I genuinely enjoyed this conversation. I hope it is useful to people when they listen and
It
watch.
will be, I'm 100% sure.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.